I'm really curious to talk to Yuri a little bit more, but at the same time, I would feel bad for distracting her from reading. I catch a glimpse of the cover of her book. It looks like the same book that she lent to me. More than that, she seems to be on the first few pages. Crap! I think she noticed me looking at her. She sneaks another glance at me, and our eyes meet for a split second. But that only makes her hide her face deeper in her book. Sorry, I was just spacing out. I mutter this, sensing I made her uncomfortable.
Oh, it's fine. If I was focused, then I probably wouldn't have noticed in the first place. But I'm just rereading a bit of this, so...
That's the book that you gave me, right?
I wanted to reread some of it. Not for any particular reason.
Just curious, how come you have 2 copies of the same book?
When I stopped at the bookstore yesterday. That's not what I meant. I mean, I just happened to buy 2 of them.
Ah, I see. There's something fairly obvious here that Yuri isn't telling me, but I decide to let it go. I'll definitely start reading it soon.
I'm glad to hear. Once it starts to pick up, you might have a hard time putting it down. It's a very engaging and relatable story.
Is that so? What's it about anyway?
Well,
Yuri closes the book and scans her eyes over the back. The book is titled Portrait of Markov. There's an ominous-looking eye symbol on the front cover.
All right. I just wanted to make sure I don't accidentally give anything away. Basically, it's about this girl in high school who moves in with her long-lost younger sister. But as soon as she does so, her life gets really strange. She gets targeted by these people who escape from a human experiment prison. And while her life is in danger, she needs to desperately choose who to trust. No matter what she does, she ends up destroying most of her relationships and her life starts to fall apart.
That's kind of dark, isn't it? Yuri made it sound like it was going to be a nice story, so that dark turn came from nowhere. Yuri gently giggles all of a sudden.
Are you not a fan of that sort of thing, Jay?
No, it's not that. I mean, I can definitely enjoy those kinds of stories, so don't worry.
I hope so.
I totally forgot that Yuri is into those things. She's so shy and reclusive on the outside, but her mind seems to be completely different.
It's just that those kinds of stories, they challenge you to look at life from a strange new perspective. When horrible things happen not just because someone wants to be evil, but because they have their own goals or their own philosophy that they believe in. Then suddenly, when you thought you related to the protagonist, they're made out to be the naive one for letting their one-sided morals interfere with the villain's plans. I'm rambling, aren't I? Not again. I'm sorry.
Hey, don't apologize. I haven't lost interest or anything.
Well, I guess it's all right then. But I feel like I should let you know that I have this problem. When I let things like books and writing fill my thoughts, I kind of forget to pay attention to other people. So I'm sorry if I end up saying something strange, and please stop me if I start talking too much.
I really don't think you need to worry. That just means you're passionate about reading. The least I can do is listen. It's a literature club after all.
That's true.
In fact, I might as well get started reading it, right?
You don't have to.
What are you saying? Just a moment ago you said you were looking forward to it. Let me just get the book. I quickly retrieved the book that I'd put into my bag. All right. It's fine if I sit here, right? I slip into the seat next to Yuri's.
Yeah.
Are you sure? You seem a little apprehensive.
I'm sorry. It's not that I don't want you to. It's just something that I'm not very used to. That is, reading in company with someone.
I see. Well, just tell me if I end up distracting you or anything.
All right.
I open the book and start the prologue. I soon understand what Yuri means about reading in company. It's as if I can feel her presence over my shoulder as I read. It's not particularly a bad thing, maybe a little distracting, but the feeling is somewhat comforting. Yuri is in the corner of my eye. I realize that she's not actually looking at her own book. I glance over. It looks like she's reading from my book instead.
Sorry, I was just...
Yuri, you really apologize a lot, don't you?
I do? I don't really mean to. Sorry. I mean...
Here, this should work, right? I slide my desk until it's up against Yuri's, then hold my book more between the two of them.
I suppose so.
Yuri timidly closes her own copy. Once we each lean in a little bit, our shoulders are almost touching. It feels like my left arm is in the way. so instead I use my right hand to hold the book open. Ah, I guess that makes it kind of difficult to turn the page.
Here.
Yuri takes her left arm and holds the left side of the book between her thumb and forefinger. Ah, I do the same with my right arm, on the right side of the book. That way, I turn a page, and Yuri slides it under her thumb after it flips to her side. But in holding it like this, we're huddled even closer together than before. It's actually kind of distracting me. It's as if I can feel the warmth of Yuri's face, and she's in the corner of my vision.
Are you ready?
Eh?
To turn the page.
Ah! Sorry! I think I got a bit distracted for a second. I glance over at Yuri's face again, and our eyes meet. I don't know how I'll be able to keep up with her.
That's okay. You're not as used to reading, right? I don't mind being patient if it takes you a bit longer. It's probably the least I can do, since you've been so patient with me.
Yeah. Thanks. We continue reading. Yuri no longer asks me if I'm ready to turn the page. Instead, I just assume that she finishes the page before me, so I turn it by my own volition. We continue the first chapter in silence. Even so, turning each page almost feels like an intimate exchange. My thumb gently letting go of the page, letting it flutter over to her side as she catches it under her own thumb. Hey, Yuri. This might be a silly thought, but the main character kind of reminds me of you a little bit.
You think so? How does she?
Well, I guess she's more blunt in a lot of ways. But she also second-guesses all of the things that she says and does. Like she's afraid she'll do something wrong. It's not like I can see into your head or anything, but they're kind of reminiscent of some of your mannerisms.
I see.
Yuri remains silent for a moment.
But Jay, that's probably a terrible thing to have in common with her. It's so embarrassing that you think that.
Wait! I didn't mean it in a bad way or anything! Sorry, I really didn't know you were self-conscious about that sort of thing. I guess I more meant that it's kinda cute.
What are you saying all of a sudden?
Okay, everyone! I think it's about time we share today's poems with each other. We might not have enough time if we wait too long.
Yuri exhales, spared from finishing her thought.
Is that all right, Yuri? You look kind of down. I'm sorry if you haven't been looking forward to this.
It's fine.
Yuri releases her hand from the book, causing it to close on top of my thumb. Alright, I guess I'll do some more reading tonight. Or would you prefer I only read it with you?
I guess I don't have too much of a preference either way.
In that case, I'll read a little more tonight. It'll be more fun with you after it picks up a bit, you know?
That's good reasoning. In that case, feel free to finish the first 2 chapters in your own time.
Alright! I stand up. I make a mental note of where I left off in the book, then slip it back into my bag.
By the way, did you remember to write a poem last night?
Yeah? My relaxation ends. I can't believe I agreed to do something so embarrassing! I couldn't really find much inspiration since I've never really done this before.
Well, now that everyone's ready, why don't you find someone to share with?
I can't wait.
Sayori and Monika enthusiastically pull out their poems. Sayori's is on a wrinkled sheet of loose leaf torn from a spiral notebook. On the other hand, Monika wrote hers in a composition notebook. I can already see Monika's pristine handwriting from where I sit. Natsuki and Yuri reluctantly comply as well, reaching into their bags. I do the same myself. Who should I show my poem to first? Yuri seems the most experienced, so I should start with her. I can trust her opinion to be fair. As Yuri reads the poem, I notice her eyes lighten.
Exceptional.
Eh? What was that?
Did I say that out loud?
Yuri first covers her mouth, but then ends up covering her whole face.
He's going to hate me.
You really didn't do anything wrong, Yuri.
I guess you're right. What am I getting so nervous for?
Yuri takes a breath.
So, what kind of writing experience do you have? Your use of imagery and metaphors indicates you've written a lot of poetry before.
Really? Wow. That's a huge compliment coming from you. This is actually my first time, really.
Huh?
Yuri stares at me blankly, then looks at my poem again.
Well, I know that. I just meant...
Yuri trails off, unable to find an excuse. She traces her finger along the words in the poem, as if breaking it down more thoroughly.
Yeah, okay. This is the reason I was able to tell. It's just that there are specific writing habits that are usually typical of new writers. And having been through that myself, I kind of learned to pick up on them. I think the most noticeable thing I recognize in new writers is that they try to make their style very deliberate. In other words, they tend to pick a writing style separate from the topic matter, and they form-fit the two together. The end result is that both the style and the expressiveness are weakened.
Once Yuri finds her train of thought, it's as if her demeanor totally changes. Her stammering is completely gone, and she sounds like an expert.
Of course, it's not something you can be blamed for. There are so many different techniques and skills that go into even writing a simple poem. Not just finding them and building them, but getting them to work together is probably the most challenging part. It might take you some time, but it all comes with practice, and learning by example, and trying new things. I also hope that everyone else in the club gives you valuable feedback. Natsuki can be a little biased, though.
Biased? How?
Well, never mind. I shouldn't be talking about people like that. Sorry.
It's fine. I'm not sure if Yuri's apologizing to herself, to me, or to Natsuki. Do you mind if I read your poem now?
Please do. I'd love to share my thought process behind it.
Yuri smiles dreamily, as if that's a rare opportunity for her, which itself is kind of funny. After all, isn't this supposed to be a literature club? Who should I show my poem to next?
This is a good poem, Jay. Are you sure it's your first time?
Of course. It's not that good. Am I the kind of guy who would be writing poems in his spare time?
I guess you're right. But that's why it impressed me. Well, to be honest, I was afraid you wouldn't do it seriously. Or that you wouldn't write one at all. I'm really happy just that you wrote one. It just reminds me of how you're really a part of the club now.
Not to mention the fact that I'm standing in front of you in the club room? Well, of course. I'm not really into it yet, but that doesn't mean I'll break my promise.
See? It's like I said before, Jay. Deep down, you're not selfish at all, you know? Trying new things like this for other people. That's something that only really good people do.
Thanks, Sayori. I'm not sure if Sayori sees the full picture of my motive here. Then again, I can't deny that she's part of the reason I joined. Knowing how much this means to her and all.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make sure you have lots of fun here, okay? That will be my way of thanking you.
Alright, I'm gonna hold you to that then.
Yay! Now, you'll read my poem too, right? Don't worry, I'm really bad at this.
We'll see about that. Who should I show my poem to next?
Jay, if you're not going to take this club seriously, then go home.
What? Harsh.
What? Do you expect me to believe that you actually put effort into this? Do you think I'm stupid?
I'm not a writer. Maybe it's not very good, but yeah, I did put in effort. We all start somewhere, right? If you're still proud of the first poem you ever wrote, then I'd like to read it. Painful to think about?
Fine. Well, sorry. You'll get better anyway. I tell you what to improve, but you're better off just trying again.
Fair enough. Well, to each their own, I guess.
Anyway, I guess I gotta share mine now. Knowing you, you'll probably think it's stupid.
I hand Monika my poem.
Great job, Jay. I was going ooh in my head while reading it. It's really metaphorical. I'm not sure why, but I didn't expect you to go for something so deep. I guess I underestimated you.
It's easiest for me to keep everyone's expectations low. That way it always counts when I put in some effort.
That's not very fair. Well, I guess it worked out anyway. You know that Yuri likes this kind of writing, right? Writing that's full of imagery and symbolism. Unlike Sayori, who likes using simple and direct words to describe happiness and sadness. Yuri likes it when readers are left to derive their own meaning out of it. It's very challenging to write like that effectively. Both allowing people to get something out of it just by feel, or letting them deeply analyze all of the nuances. It can take years of practice, which I'm assuming Yuri has at this point. I never really asked, though.
I'm sure I'm nowhere near her level yet.
And don't worry so much about that. You do your own thing. Just keep exploring and learn by trying new things.
I'm sure I'll end up trying different things a lot. It could take a while before I feel comfortable doing this.
That's okay. I'd love to see you try new things. That's the best way to find the kind of style that suits you. Everyone else might be a little bit biased towards their own kinds of styles, but I'll always help you find what suits you the most. So don't force yourself to write the way everyone else wants you to write. It's not like you have to worry about impressing them or anything. Anyway, do you want to read my poem now? Don't worry, I'm not very good.
You sound pretty confident for someone who claims to not be very good.
Well, that's because I have to sound confident. That doesn't mean I always feel that way, you know.
I see. Well, let's read it then. So, of course that's going to be... Natsuki. You're right that I liked your poem.
See?
Wait, that's not an excuse for you to be so mean. You shouldn't pick a fight just because someone's opinion is different.
That's not what happened at all! Yuri wouldn't even take my poem seriously!
I understand. Yuri, you're a seriously talented writer. It's no secret that I was impressed.
Well, that's...
But here's the thing. No matter how simple or refined someone's writing style is, they're still putting feelings into it, and it becomes something really personal. That's why Natsuki felt threatened when you said her poem was cute.
I see. I didn't notice that I'm sorry.
But Natsuki, you took it way too far. Yuri means well, and if you just told her how you felt, then this wouldn't have happened in the first place.
Are you kidding? That's exactly what I did! It was her that...
Natsuki, I think that's enough. You both said some things that you didn't mean. Yuri apologized. Don't you think you should too?
Natsuki clenches her fists. In the end, nobody has taken her side. She's trapped. At this point, being defiant only because she can't handle the pressure. I end up even feeling bad for her.
Sometimes when I'm hurt, it helps to take a walk and clear my head.
Sayori, she doesn't need to.
You know what? I'm going to do that. It'll spare me from having to look at all your faces right now.
Without warning, Natsuki snatches her own poem up from the desk and storms out. On her way out, she crumples up the poem with her hands and throws it in the trash.
Natsuki.
She really didn't need to do that.
I look across the room. Yuri has her chin buried in her hands while she stares down at her desk. I gingerly approach her and sit in an adjacent chair. Everything all right?
I'm so embarrassed. I can't believe I acted like that. You probably hate me now.
No! Yuri! How could anyone not have gotten frustrated after being treated like that? You handled it as well as anyone could. I don't think any less of you.
Well, alright. I believe you. Thanks, Jay. You're too kind. I'm thankful to have you a part of this club now.
It's nothing.
One more thing. That one thing that Natsuki said about, you know, I would never do anything so shameful. So...
Eh? What thing did Natsuki say?
Well, never mind that. I'm going to make some tea.
Ah, good idea. Make enough for more than one person, okay?
Yeah.